Welcome everyone. Today we have our another new episode, and this is 378 episode. And this is very important for us. Already we declared about these sessions many times. I'm sure that our audience and our corporate partners, our government body, everybody interested about today's sessions. And yes, we have our world famous speaker, Professor Adrian, and the Senator Anning. He is very popular in Australia. Yes, there are many issues, many interesting aspects. We already share the press release what we get from Professor Adrian. So we will learn detail about this book and about the concept of populism and economic nationalism. Professor Adrian, because you are the writer of this book, and I want to start from you, then I will jump to this Senator Anning. Professor, like you are a very unique professor. You are a innovators. You have different perceptions and popularity. How you choose like this kind of book where it gives some sort of guidelines about nationalisms and other things. So yeah, like you are more on scientist. Why you choose this kind of book?
Yes, well, thank you, Sharif, for inviting us, and I think Senator Anning can do most of the talking because the book is about him actually. But I'll take you back to the roots of this book. Actually, goes back many years, and I was a young global leader at the World Economic Forum, and I was chosen. I was given this award in 2006, I think. And I went to the World Economic Forum in Davos. Normally, you have to pay like $30,000 or $50,000 to attend. They invite CEOs and they invite politicians, of course, and other leaders. But they also invite these what they call young global leaders. And then I went there in 2008, and all the global elites are there, the politicians, the CEOs, the bankers, they're all there, and not a single one of them. They all had these rosy predictions for the upcoming year. How great 2008 is going to be. Not a single one of them predicted the one of the biggest financial meltdowns and crashes in history. And that was the beginning of my thinking that so as a scientist we are trained to look at the evidence and look at the evidence, come up with a hypothesis, and come up with a conclusion. So until then, all the evidence I had was the experts know everything, right? Yeah, so all the politicians, they must know everything. They run the country. All the bankers in Wall Street, they must know all what's going on. But when that happened, I saw firsthand that none of them knew what in the world is going on, because they're all gathering there in Davos in Switzerland, predicting a fantastic year, and it was one of the worst years of the history, right? And then so I actually yeah, there we go. There's me with Senator Anning. So then it was actually from that time that I realized that there is something very wrong with the way the world is run, and then during the 2016 election in America, almost every academic, almost everyone in the universities said there's no way Trump can win. No way he can win because he's an idiot. He doesn't know anything. How can someone that has never been a politician become president? And I think I was the only one who predicted in my group, like group of academics. I was the only one that said Trump will win. And the reason I said Trump will win is because I saw firsthand what happened in Davos 2008, and I could see that was the start. That was the seed of people. If I was not trusting the experts, then what about then? I think that's what many of the people were thinking, and that's exactly what happened. And people were shocked when Trump came in. They were shocked. There was some. I remember there was some researcher in my lab was crying. She was crying because she couldn't believe it. shocking it was that Trump won, but I predicted it, and so as a scientist, I saw the evidence that the experts don't really know what is going on, and there's going to be a sea change in the society where the what we call the man on the street probably knows better than those people who are the political class or government class running the countries, and that's how I began to and that's how I became to know Senator Anning, because there was an election in Australia in 2019, and I tried to join his party, to run for his party, and I ran for his party in South Australia, which was one of the most greatest moments of my life, to represent Senator Anning in South Australia. We didn't win, unlike Trump. We didn't win, but I think it's because the system in Australia is totally almost impossible for minor parties to win elections. So that's a real problem. But I think we did make a sea change. And then this book, which has just been published. So actually, I had proposed this book before I met Senator Anning. I proposed to the publisher, I want to write a book about how the rise of populism in the world. But then after I met and spent a lot of time with Senator Anning during the election, and then I met him, I got to know him, then I realized this book would be better. It's focused on one man's story. How did they develop into a populist politician? And that's why the book ended up becoming a biography of Senator Anning. And by reading it, you can really understand in a much more personal level, not just theoretical level, why we live in the age of populism and economic nationalism. And people might say, "Oh, Trump's gone," but I'm almost very certain he'll be back. He will be back, and he'll win in 2024. That's my prediction. I've already made some $100 bets with people about that.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you. Senator Anning, so how you want to analyze this book? Very interesting book. Perhaps I'm very honest, like many people may ask different questions, but I love to learn. I'm sure our audience love to learn, and we have millions of youth communities in developing nations. I'm sure this will be very good learning for them as well. So how you want to analyze this populism and economics concept, economic nationalism? Is it really important right now? Even yes, in the COVID-19 situation, we are observing nationalism is growing and everything happening. What are your views? And if you share your personal experience about politics, because we are big fan of politics as well.
Okay, Sharif, it's vitally important right now. Economic nationalism, the rise of populism is absolutely necessary to defeat what we've seen in Australia now, which is pretty much blatant communism. The country is, as far as I can see, nearly an Iron Curtain country. We have to have the majority rise up. And that's always very hard for people who have been conservative, patriots, Christian patriots, I guess. They're not used to doing that. They're not revolutionary types. We obey the laws generally and try and do the right thing and go to work. But now in Australia and even now here in America, it's vitally important that we have leaders who will stand up and stand their ground. And I think they're going to come from the blue collar. I spent a lot of time in a lot of different industries: the cattle industry, hotel industry, I guess construction industry, aircraft industry. I've been in a lot of industries and I've met a lot of people, and I talk to those people on a daily basis. We had a lot of hotels over the years, my wife and I and my kids, and I know what the average hardworking Australian man believes. and it's far removed from what the elite, the politicians and the elite and the multinationals and the extremely wealthy people think. They don't understand that the people of Australia, the silent majority, you might call them, the high vis, the hard hats, the working men and women of Australia, they don't like what they're getting. And they are resisting communism and socialism, but they haven't learned how to stand up and fight it. Now, I notice in Melbourne in the last few weeks, there's people being belted and hit with rubber bullets. Yesterday, I think it was, they had the anti-terror squad out for a group of people who are peacefully demonstrating against being locked down for this long. Now, they knocked a 72-year-old woman over and sprayed her with capsicum. They belted people. That's Gestapo tactics. And the Australian people they are stunned. They don't believe that their country, me as well, I can't believe that my country has gone that far to the left, and that state governments are persecuting people the way they're doing it. I mean, it's impossible to get in and out of Australia. I mean, unfortunately, Adrian, you won't be able to get out of there. We'll send you some care packages, but so it is vitally important that people unite and resist. When governments are doing what they're doing now, you'll end up with a Venezuela or otherwise. So, the silent majority aren't being heard at the ballot box. Their votes are being destroyed. I can 100% guarantee that, because we saw that at the last election, that Adrian was good enough to stand for us in South Australia. We saw what happened, and we have proof, but you'll never win that argument, like, with Trump against Biden. Biden was probably the most unpopular person ever to stand as a president. They're now in football fields all over America, and everywhere there's groups of people, they're screaming out F Biden. They hate him, but yet he got elected with zero support. So we have a very corrupt voting system in Australia, probably worse than here in America. So I think that the silent majority need to be heard, but the only way they're going to do it now is through a minor revolution, if you like.
Thank you, Professor Adrian. One thing I have in mind, let's say Australia is an immigrant country. Many people go there, they live in Australia. And I want to say, for developing nations, this is also a destination. They always go there. What do you think? Like, if nationalism and populism grows, so what will happen in the Australian economy? And second things, if the same thing happens, the other countries, let's say the same nationalism grow in other developing nations like India, China, or other country, what will be the scenario? What will be the possible future for us?
Yeah. Well, again, probably Senator Sanning has a better answer than me. But let me just say that the opposite of the nationalism is the World Economic Forum, which I was talking about, which is they are the globalists, right? So the World Economic Forum and the globalist concept is that. We don't care about the individuals in the different countries. We just care that we can make a lot of money by making, for example, making some shoes in China and then selling it in USA or Australia for 100 times the price. So that's called globalism, and that was the kind of mantra, the religion, and it still is almost like a religion for a lot of people. But then the populists and economic nationalists came up and then said, look, actually, all the jobs have been lost. So when nationalism is about thinking about your own country, so whether it's America or here in Australia. So I'm here in Australia, and you know what? You just cannot find anything made in Australia anymore. I mean, I cannot believe that there's some clothes which are made by Australian companies. They're like one's called R.M. Williams, and one's called UGG. They make these boots, and I bought some of these boots, and I thought must be made in Australia. I didn't even question it because it's like a Australian company for the last 100 years. And I look at the label; it's made in China. So there is literally nothing made in Australia anymore. So nationalism is about saying, hey, we need to think about the people in our own country, and also, they need to have jobs, right? So essentially, it's looking after your own backyard to allow people to have jobs. What happened over the 80s and 90s was a massive transfer of jobs from places like America and Australia to China, right? And then now we are almost at World War III with China. So why did we do that? Why were we so generous to China to give them all the jobs? And then in return they're so aggressive. And then in return China is extremely aggressive. They want to take over the Taiwan. They want this island in the Pacific, whatever. So it's not like you get any gratitude from China. So by being globalist and allowing all the many jobs to go to China, you didn't see China not looking after itself. China is 1,000% looking after itself. It's one of the most nationalist countries. So for countries which are smaller, like you said, Bangladesh and Malaysia and other countries, they have to think from a more China doesn't care anything about them. They just want to use them to increase the economy of China. So this rosy picture that you get about globalism, actually in reality, I believe one of the greatest statesmen was Henry Kissinger, and he came up with this concept of realpolitik, right? Is forget about the theory, just look what happens in practice, right? And Henry Kissinger, he's still alive, and he's still going really well. He's actually written a lot of books on China. But the point is, Henry Kissinger was saying, in the real world, what is the best thing for our country, right? And every country should think that's what Henry Kissinger said, right? So Henry Kissinger did some things which people say, was unfair. It wasn't justified, but his answer was, it's in the best interest of America. So that's why I think nationalism is so important. Even if you believe in globalism, we're going to be so friendly to this country, China, for example, and we send our jobs there, but they won't do it in return. China is the most nationalistic country in the world, and we have very high employment in Australia. It's incredible for a first world, let's say first world country. It's one of the highest unemployments in the world, and when you see the actual figure, it's bigger than that, because a lot of people after 6 months they give up. They don't bother to look for work anymore, and then if the government takes them off the statistics as being unemployed, the real figure is what percentage of the people of the working adult population is in the workforce. And you can't believe, but in Australia it's about 60%, right? That means 40% of the Australian population have given up. There's no jobs here, and that very much relates to the immigration. All right, so yes, I know a lot of people like to come to Australia, but actually there's not many jobs here. Even Australians can't find jobs. So I think if someone is in their own developing country, try to make the best of your situation where you are. It's not as good as it sounds coming here. We have a lot of problems and a lot of unemployment in Australia. So hardworking people, I believe, can be successful anywhere in any country. They don't need to shop around for different countries.
Mhm, mhm. Thank you, Professor Adrian. Very interesting point and very valuable points. I think this is the things we should think, that we need to grow nationalism, as well as we need to like help to the governments how they can develop their own economy. That's why even yesterday I shared with you at least 1 million people from India, they joined World Talent Economy Forums from the grassroots level in the rural area of India, and we are supporting them to develop a better ecosystem inside India. Even I'm also ambassador of Startup Village. So our concept will go to the village area of the developing nations, and we will develop the better village for them. They
Yes.
do not have to come to city. They have to live in
Yes.
their village, and they will get all of the necessary support through startup ecosystem. This is an excellent idea, and we also support your views how you analyzing this point. Senator Anning, other point is that like one of my friends said actually Biden got the most votes in American history. He's from USA. Anyway, it's happened. But my question is that like how Professor Anning discussing about nationalism. Do you believe in the globalization, in the way of globalization, especially we are helping different developing nations? Is it practically possible that every country individually they will be sustainable or successful? Why are we observing like Professor Adrian discussing about China Belt and Road Initiative moving very fast, and they strongly engage with the developing nation economically highly dependent on China. uh, what's going on? What will be the practical scenario?
Um, well, first, China, as Adrian said, is all about China. They're very, very nationalistic. They're in a lot of trouble right now. I don't know if you know, but they're having a meltdown that looks like it's going to be worse than the 2008 global economic crisis that we had. Li Jinping has built a lot of cities that no one lives in. He's spent billions and trillions of dollars. He's now out of money, and seriously out of money. That the meltdown, I believe, will be bigger than the the GFC. I think that, and of course, every country that in history that has a financial problem, once they start becoming insolvent, the first thing they want to do is go to war. They'll tell their people that it's the great Satan, America, or somebody else. They'll find a scapegoat, and then they'll rattle the sabers and they'll try and go to war, and that unites people, and that sometimes helps their economy as well. But it means we end up with another war, and that's what's happening in the South China Sea, as Adrian alluded to, and around Taiwan and stuff like this. So this man is probably, as far as I can see, is worse than Mao Zedong. I think he's going to create a war, and that won't last long. He's got more enemies than he can name. I think Japan and India and the United States and Taiwan, and so those will stand against him, and it won't be. I don't think it'll take a long time. But as far as the other thing, like Adrian said, we've lost all our manufacturing in Australia. That started in 1973 with a lousy prime minister we had named Gough Whitlam, and he signed the Lima Agreement. The Lima Agreement said that we would transfer 30% of our production or our industry to a third world country or third world countries. Well, we did that. Well, now it's 95%. So effectively, we've put a huge amount of Australians out of work. We put them into hardship, and I don't believe that's right. I believe in, like Adrian said, and I believe in looking after Australians first. Now, that's not to the exclusion of anyone else. The Italians came to Australia, the Greeks, Vietnamese, Filipinos, you name it. We've taken people from every country. The European nations have come to Australia as immigrants, and they've helped build Australia, and they're all part of Australia. There are a few cultures, or at least one, that does not integrate at all well, and we've had all sorts of problems in Australia with that. But the Australians are very open, welcoming people, and they're happy to have people come along into our country if they'll contribute, and if they'll look try and live as we do. we're a Christian conservative type nation, or we were, then everyone's happy to have them there. We're not happy to have people there who want to attack us and who hate us and burn our flag. I don't want them there. I personally don't want them there, and I can tell you now about 75% of Australians don't want them there. So, we're happy to have people there. I'd like to see our industry start to come back again, but we can't do it with a socialist government as we have here now. I mean, they're happy to keep on taxing and looking after people. We do have immigrants who are coming in or refugees, they call them. They're economic migrants. They're coming into Australia because we have a very, very generous welfare system. And that's some of these people have come 5 or 6 countries where they could seek refuge. A refugee really should just go to the first country where he can stop being persecuted. But to come, to jump on a international flight and come, halfway around the world, because if you do the research, Australia has a very, very generous welfare system. The poor old Australian who's going to work every day is paying for that, and I don't believe that's right.
Thank you. Professor Adrian, we are also thinking about talent economy and other things. If example, like the talent people for better opportunity, they want to move to the developed nations. Do you think is it the right strategy, or what is your advice? Because I know you are a world-class professor, or you are also helping many people. What is your advice for this talent people, and in terms of this nationalist economics views, how the young people can implement in their own country and they get success from this process?
Well, yeah, as Senator Anning said, and I believe what he said is very, very correct. So there's a difference between let's say a very ambitious young man or young woman, and they really want to make the best success. If, for example, they think, okay, look, I need to go to Silicon Valley to launch my product, or I need to come to Australia for some reason, maybe it's to do with minerals or mining or something. Okay, so if that is the case, if there is actual reason to let's say go to Silicon Valley, or go to like Queensland, where there's a lot of mines and a lot of minerals, they might have some business idea based on mining and minerals, for example. So if it's that kind of thing, is justified. But in a lot of cases, it is just what's called economic refugees. They don't really have any idea about wanting to better themselves. They're just like shopping around. Oh, what is the best country for welfare? Where can I get the free this and free that? That is not a good way to be a successful woman or man. That's a kind of, let's say, lazy way, right? It's just kind of, okay, I'll try to find the place where I can get all the lots of free things and have the welfare. So yes, Australia does have a lot of welfare, for example, free healthcare, etc. Okay, so you do get what's called economic refugees. They're not refugees from persecution. They're just shopping around for the best country. So my view is that if there's a reason to go somewhere, like I said, go to Silicon Valley, go to Queensland, go somewhere else, you want to go there, you've got to develop your business and become better and work harder and contribute to the economy, then that's fine. But if the case of they just kind of shopping around and they think, oh, Australia's a pretty easy place to live, and I'll try to go there. Well, I think that is not a good way to personally develop one's talents, because it's a kind of lazy way to do things. And as I said, people imagine that a place like Australia have so many jobs or something. That was the case in the 1970s, I think, but not anymore. But like I said, nearly half of Australia is out of work. Only 60% of the working population is actually working. So it is really we need people who can build business and make themselves better, but not the people who just come here just for an easy life. My you know my mother used to always say, don't take the easy way. You know, to develop oneself, you need to work hard, and that's the critical thing. So and the second point is that when anyone leaves, for example, someone leaves Bangladesh or leaves Malaysia and when they leave, you get a brain drain. It's actually worse for Bangladesh if all the smart people try to leave, right? So they really should try to make Bangladesh a richer place. You know, it's better for the country if they can become millionaires in Bangladesh. You know, otherwise you have a vicious circle where the smart people leave, the people with money leave, and then that's worse for the country. So overall, you know, it is as Senator Anning said, we don't want people who are economic refugees. We want people who are really going to work hard and develop themselves.
Mhm. No, excellent point. I just want to share one specific point from Bangladesh. Let's say I know Grameen Phone is one of the largest telecom company in Bangladesh. This is actually funded by Dr. Iqbal Kadir from MIT. He is a professor of MIT. So he is a professor of MIT. Side by side, he developed this Grameen Phone, this Bikash, and all of the largest corporation inside Bangladesh. And this is the backbone of the economy. Do you think that, like example, when we go outside of the country, we actually learn? Let's say I learn from you, then I implement in my country. Same things we are observing. Let's say Nobel laureate Dr. Muhammad Yunus, he also outside, he learned from the outside and he implemented inside the country. What do you think? Like, is it the way that even another important thing is that uh, many people, those who go outside, example, our show actually like broadcast in YouTube. So one of the American Bangladeshi, he also invent this YouTubes or Khan Academy, American Bangladeshi, or many like tech entrepreneurs. They are also like come from developing nations, from India, from Bangladesh. Even the Indian people, they are running many IT corporation, even in Silicon Valleys, Satya and this and that. What do you think? Like, this is the way of transformations of the talents to the another economy, or is it good or is it bad, or what do you think? It's like, or how actually nationalist economic views can reset new economic views for their own country? Professor
You
Adrian,
ask.
because yeah, Professor I'm coming because Professor Adrian is a scholar for as an academician,
Right.
so
All right.
I'm coming to.
Okay,
Yes.
I'm really being put on the press here. Okay, so okay, so yeah, no, as I said, if uh, yeah, if for example, someone from Bangladesh has a great idea, but can't get funding in Bangladesh, but really thinks their idea can work, goes to Silicon Valley, makes a pitch, gets invested. That's an example of increasing wealth, both in USA where they're making the company, and also I assume that money will flow back to Bangladesh as well in this situation. They might set up an office back in Bangladesh to employ those workers. So yes, and for opening up your mind to ideas, yes, I think it is fine
Right.
that people attend conferences and go on business trips. They learn, and they can come back and develop their product. So I think we're all kind of on the same plane. That kind of activity does number one is a hard working activity to build up one's career as well as benefits the countries. But what we are saying is that there's another kind of person is just like clicking on the internet. Oh, what's the best easiest country in the world to live in? Oh, Australia, that looks good. I'll go there and I'll just sit on the beach all day, and so that's the kind of thing. Not developing the person. It's not beneficial for anyone or any country. So I think having interchange of ideas, going to for example, USA for a reason which really resonates, which fits in with like a business plan or something, then that's good. But being lazy and just trying to find the easiest country to live in, that is not good for anybody, including the person, because being lazy is not a good thing.
Thank you, Professor. Like Senator Anning, my questions to you, let's say you are very popular, you're really popular politician in Australia, you become Prime Minister of Australia. So what three things you will do, you want to do for Australia?
There's a lot of things I'd like to do for Australia, Sharif.
Okay.
One, start our manufacturing, get our country going again, get the economy going again. I'd make it one also look after our defence for a start off, because right now we're threatened by China. I can tell you now, China has pretty much done what Japan tried to do in the Second World War, and that is island hop and take all the islands around Australia. And the way that China's doing that is by lending billions of dollars to small nations, island nations, which they'll never be able to pay back, and then taking over their seaports and stuff like that and militarizing them, which is very threatening to Australia. So, one, I'd make sure our defense is okay. I'd be a little bit like Israel. As you know, Israel is a tiny little country, and it's surrounded by people who hate them and want them dead, and they defend themselves. So there's no reason Australia can't defend themselves. I don't believe that we can always, trust our allies to be as forthcoming as they were, say, in the Second World War. So I think you need to be able to defend ourselves. That's one, because it's no good having all the infrastructure and getting everything right and then being taken over. So getting our industry back up and running, getting people back to work. I'd cut welfare in half, like day one. Start to be the Australia that we used to have. The socialists have destroyed our agricultural industry. For some reason, they hate people on the land. I come from a cattle ranch, a cattle station in Australia. They make it so hard now for a person to make a living out of running cattle, sheep, wheat, all the different staples. I mean, Australia is some of the best farmers in the world. We are feeding the world, and progressive, left-wing governments hate that. They hate people being self-sufficient. We should all rely on the state. And, if you're a self-sufficient person, you're obviously the enemy. We saw that in Russia with Stalin. He killed, slaughtered and starved 50-odd million people. We don't need that sort of thing in Australia. We want to go back to, producing our own stuff, producing our own food and feeding the rest of the world at a very reasonable rate, which is what we did. Our sheep, Australia was developed on the back of the sheep. For a start off, wool was a huge part of our economy. It then went to mining and then to beef and stuff like that. They're destroying us. They've sold off. They've allowed the Chinese to buy our biggest dairy farms, our biggest cotton and wheat producing farms. That should never happen. We've got to, as Adrian says, we have to look after ourselves. And also, I'll just say that I'm very happy with, what you were saying and what Adrian was saying is, having people come and do their training and get their skills and going back to their own country and developing it. Let's help people where they are. We can't just say, oh, well, come over here and live off the welfare forever. But we've sold these successive left-wing governments have sold off our agriculture, our ability to feed ourselves and the rest of the world, which we've done for many, many, many years. I'm fifth generation on cattle ranches. I'm not now, of course. But that was a disaster. I mean, Whitlam, a complete communist, he started it, and then Hawke, and then successive ones. And then, of course, our little traitorous animal, Prime Minister, I'll think of his name in a minute, but he disarmed the country, which is always the first step to a complete takeover. I mean, every socialist or communist country in the world has first been disarmed, and then the people can't defend themselves. The government have the arms, and so you do exactly as the government says. Luckily, in America, we have a thing called the Second Amendment, and they haven't disarmed us. Of course, this idiot, this moron, Biden, that pretends to be a president who is pretty much just a puppet. He has fools, people telling him what he's got to do and when he's got to do it. He wants to disarm the country, of course, and his vice president. But that is a disaster. This is a constitutional republic, and the founding fathers here understood that when the people can't defend themselves, government will enforce their will. So hopefully this constitution holds up. I just wish we had something like this in Australia, but we don't, and we've been disarmed, and that was a tragedy. But anyway, I'm just waffling now. So
Thank you. There are a few questions from audience for Senator Anning. First questions from Noor Fazrin. Sir, do you want more people to invite them to Australia to recover the economy after the pandemic? There are another question I will ask you after these questions.
Sorry, I'm just not sure. Do I want more people to come and
invite them to Australia to recover the economy after the pandemic?
The economy is shot to bits right now. This pandemic, which I think is really mainly an excuse to control people. Unfortunately, I as much research as I can do, I can't see the figures that require a complete lockdown of states and the attacks by the thuggery, the police in Australia, which is just absolutely terrible. If you see it on some of the right wing type channels, it's just straight footage of citizens who are not violent being attacked and tortured and belted. There's no reason. There's not enough deaths. If 20% of the population were dying and people were doing the wrong thing, I can understand it. But this is just a nonsense. So love to have people to come in and help to rebuild the economy. Whoever asked that question, yes, as far as I know, most Australians, if not all, are very welcoming people. And if people are coming to contribute and to help build the economy and become part of our society, of course, we need those people. What I object to, and most Australians object to, is having to go to work 4 days out of 6 a week to pay for people who come here who will never get a job, who will have lots and lots of children and live on welfare that, as I said, is extremely generous. That is not fair, and that's not the way Australia was built. We all got in, we worked. My father, my grandfather, my great-great-grandfather, and they worked alongside the Italians and the Greeks and all the other nationalities, the Indians, the Pakistanis, everyone who came into our country, helped build that country. I'm happy with those people. What we all object to is people who are just taking a free ride while the rest of us are going to work. And I don't care where you go in the world, I'm sure that's going to be the case. If I went to India tomorrow and somebody gave me, $500 a week to live on, and I did nothing and sat back and drank beer, I'm sure that my neighbours would not be happy. And that's what we feel in Australia.
There are more questions from audience for you. Jason, he said US and Australia definitely need to stay close ally now more than ever. And another question.
Yes. I agree with Jason. We've been allies for the last couple of 150 years or whatever. we've fought together, and a lot of us have fought side by side with Americans, excuse me, against the spread of communism. Jason might know, in Vietnam, in Korea for a start off, in Vietnam, in South America. We fought hard, the Australians and the Americans together, to stop the spread of communism. Unfortunately, we now have it in this country, in America. We have people who believe that that is a better way to go. They have a politician like Biden or somebody standing on a soapbox saying, I'm going to give you free healthcare. I'm going to give you free housing. I'll give you free education. I'll give you free everything. Well, nothing in this world comes for free. So they really have to understand that that system doesn't work. I mean, if you look at history, you'll find that over the years, every country that's gone down that route has been a disaster. And here we are again, now America here, your neighbor is the person that you are fighting to stop the spread of, so in Korea or Vietnam or wherever, the spread of communism, and now your next door neighbors are, believes that that's the right way to go. And they thought that in Venezuela, by the way. Venezuela is a very, very good case history. In 2000, 30 years ago, it was the second or third largest economy in the Northern Hemisphere. In 2012, the Venezuelans were disarmed, and in 2016 they learned how to eat their cats and their pets. They're eating their pets. They're starving to death, and when they rioted in the streets, they were shot by their own government, which is exactly what happened in Russia and China and in all these other countries that have gone to the communist way of thinking. The minute you disagree, you get shot. So because of course you can't defend yourself.
Thank you. The last question from audience I want to take for you. Moderator Ale Ahmed. Hello, sir. Why Australia is a dreamland to many young people? What is the secret behind your success? Thank you.
I think that it's not that much. Well, for the people who are doing nothing and receiving the benefits, it is a dreamland. I mean, if somebody pays your housing, your education, your medicine, even your travel, and then gives you a handful of money at the end of the week every week, that is a dreamland. Unfortunately, it doesn't last forever, because soon, or like all those other countries we've been talking about, there's no more money. If everyone's getting it for free here, eventually the people who are working for it to provide all those gifts and welfare and medicine and housing and everything, eventually those people say, well, I want some of that too. I don't want to go to work at, I work 11-hour days now. I don't want to do another 11-hour day. I want to do nothing and sit on the beach and have some beers and maybe and get a big handful of money at the end of the week. So eventually everyone's on this side and there's no one on this side, which they found in Russia, which they found in China. Mao Zedong's, Great Leap Forward, and then the Cultural Revolution and the Great Leap Forward, I should say, and Stalin's idea. Look, on paper and theory, it works. It's incredible. But in practice, it's an absolute failure. And we're going down that road here in America, although the silent majority, and I know Jason doesn't agree with me, but the silent majority, the people who believe that you do have to go to work and provide for your family, they're not interested in that, and hopefully at the next election we'll find out how we're going to go.
Excellent. Professor Adrian, you are a scientist and you are world famous scholar. You are contributing a lot for human development. Professor, like this nationalism concept, populism and economic nationalism concept, how it will be helpful for modern science, engineering and technology? I have one question, because talent is everywhere. Because I'm from developing nations, I visited and I was in Ivy League University or the developed nations. I have a core relationship. I know that many young talented people, they are in remote area around the world. So but what do you think? How we can utilize these talent resources through your populism and economic nationalism policy, or how we can connect to these all talented people and convert them like more like economically, how we can make them more efficient.
Well, well, yes, it's. I think the ultimately, the reason that you get refugees, like you look now in America, there's thousands of refugees from Haiti, from the island Haiti, and actually, very hypocritically, Biden flew them all back, and he was criticizing Trump for making a strong border, but he sent them all back himself back to Haiti, I think, a couple of days ago, right? But anyway, the main point I want to make is that the real reason that you get refugees and people who want to, leave their country is because there's not enough opportunities there. So I think the very best way is for each country to develop its young people to become engineers, scientists, these kind of professions which lead to manufacturing, right? And developing industry. Could be software as well now. But the point is, if you make your country to have lots of opportunities, then the young people will want to stay there. The only reason that they like recently they're going from Haiti to the US border and they're trying to get in the border is because there's no jobs in Haiti, right? So the best thing is to focus on the young people and give them educational opportunities to develop their country. There's nothing wrong, for example, to go and study in MIT in Boston or come to Australia to study. Studying is a great thing, and actually Australia benefits. Actually, something is very noisy, Sharif. I don't know what. I can hear a lot of noise. Can you hear a lot of noise?
There's a little bit of crackling, yeah.
Yeah. Sure, it's better. So it's fine to go to different countries to study. Even Australia, they actually, education is now a big business for Australia. But the point is, the only way that you're going to stop people becoming refugees is to develop the actual countries, and then young people will feel they can have jobs, and they can develop businesses, etc. That's the only sustainable way. It's not let's all go to Australia or let's all go to America. That's not sustainable. So it's okay for those people. Going back to what we were saying, it's okay when there's a compelling reason to go to another country, like for example, go to Silicon Valley to start your business. But that's only a minority of people. What we really want is to develop each nation itself to have jobs there in the actual nation, and that's how we reduce refugees. And a lot of suffering from refugees as well.
Very good point, Adrian. And could I just say that we have a very good example here in America. I work with, alongside, and work with Mexican people all the time, and they've come up from Mexico. A lot of them have crossed the border illegally, but I will say they're some of the best workers in the country. They're the people who are doing the jobs that the Americans don't want to do. Every American young person's dream or their parents' dream is to put them through college, and there's so many with degrees, and there's not enough jobs for those people with those degrees. A lot of the degrees are just waste of time degrees. It's just an excuse for a kid to go to and party for 3 or 4 years. But I will say the Mexican people are very, very decent people. They come up here into America. They do the jobs that no one else wants to do. They work extremely hard. They're very good family people. That's a great. They're great immigrants, even though quite a lot of them started off as illegal immigrants. They've come here, and you don't see them doing nothing. They're all working, and yes, they're doing the manual labor, the gardening and the construction work and all that sort of stuff. But I got to say that they can't. The Americans can't find Americans to do those jobs. I mean, every store in this city that I'm in has a sign there, hiring now. Do you know that they're even paying people to start? They will give you $500 if you'll sign on to start working. Some of them up to $2,000 to sign on. Now, that is a real, it exposes what's happening. There's not enough people to do the work. And of course, we have this COVID thing now, and they're getting a handout. So a lot of the American people are saying, okay, I can make just as much out of the COVID handout as I do going and working at McDonald's for $12 an hour or whatever. And you can't blame people for doing that. But realistically, the Mexicans who have come up here that I know, and I know lots and lots of them, they've been great immigrants, whether they've come in legally or illegally. They're doing the hard yards. They're doing the stuff that no one else wants to do. So you as far as I'm concerned, I'd welcome those people with open arms.
Thank you. This is an excellent discussion, and definitely there are a lot of gap in between your idea and with our audience. But how you analyzing the whole procedure is really important. And World Talent Economy Forum actually believe in that way. We believe in talent people. We believe in hard work. We believe in modern science, engineering, and technology. And we also believe in that the board of advisor like Professor Adrian, and we also want to welcome you in our board, because the more we get the knowledgeable person in our board, then we can mentor or we can guide more people, and they can develop their economy. Yes, this is the right time that we need to rethink or redesign our economical concept. We have to reorganize our whole procedures, but maybe we have to negotiate more. We have to discuss more. We have to arrange this kind of dialogue more. And this way, maybe we can develop more sustainable economy in the future. Thank you for joining today's session. This is an excellent idea and excellent thoughts. I'm sure our audience will be really happy. Dr. Adrian actually very helpful professor, even in personally. He also helped me a lot for my developments, and he has his own university, Nikola Tesla Graduate Schools. It's 100% free. He's supporting many students. Beside that, he is contributing many research areas, and we will organize a conference in the next year, September. Hopefully it will be one of the largest conference in Asia Pacific. I want to give you the good news that at least 10 different universities from the developing nation, they're confirming me that they want to join this Nikola Tesla technology conference. And this way we will develop new economy, we will develop new sustainable policy, and this is the way of improvement. Thank you, Professor Adrian and Senator Anning, for joining today's session. I directly want to go for the concluding remarks. Before that, I just want to add, buy this book. I think Professor Adrian, if you share the books and these things, please buy this book. And the researcher, economic specialist, especially politicians, you have to learn a lot. So yeah, I think through this book you can understand. We have many political organization, think tanks, and even many prime minister office we are working. So hopefully they will buy your book, they will understand. And if they want to do some research and other things, definitely Senator Anning and Professor Adrian, World Talent Economy Forum, will introduce all of the things with you. Thank you for joining. Professor Adrian, what's your concluding remarks today?
Well, my concluding remarks is, first of all, thank you to Sharif for hosting this interview, and thank you to Senator Anning for joining us. And I know you're so busy there in America. My concluding remarks is that when I wrote this book, it actually took me 9 months to write the book, and while spending 9 months to write the book about Senator Anning, it made me think very, very deeply about his life, because I almost feel like I relived his life in my mind. But what I realized was, from a very young age, Senator Anning, when he was a young boy, he was, riding the horses, he was mustering the cattle, from a child, and all through his life, he worked so hard. And you might look at him now and think, oh, senator, he's a senator. But actually, I realized I've never met such a hardworking man. working on the farm is a killer job. He used to wake up at 4 in the morning and then get back late at night, and every day that is the same, working on the farm. And then he worked as a laborer, building houses brick by brick as a laborer. He ran hotels and cleaning the toilets himself, And what I realize is that all this is very important for all of us to learn. There is no easy way in life. The only way is to work hard and do it yourself. And you got to get your hands dirty, so to speak, by doing it all yourself. Working hard is the what I realized from writing about Senator Anning's life. Working hard is the key to success, and also populism and economic nationalism really comes from, I think, Senator Anning's personal philosophy that he looks after. He works hard. He looks after his family. He doesn't need people to give him money or pay him money for health care or anything. So he looks after his own family. Is very similar to every country should look after themselves and develop themselves and work hard. So my summary is, please read the book. And when you read the book, really see how hard Senator Anning worked all his life. Don't just look at him now as a senator. You think, oh, it's an easy job. You're a king of the castle sitting up there in the Senate. But no. Senator Anning is a very, very hard working man his whole life. And that's the secret to his success. And that is the secret to everyone's success and every country's success. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor Adrian. Senator Anning, yes. What's your concluding remarks?
That was very nice. Thanks, Adrian. And I do agree. If we all look after ourselves and our family and our extended family, and I always believe in looking after those who can't look after themselves. We're a society, and we'll help those who have fallen on hard times. But I've always believed that that's where it ends. You don't help everyone because eventually you'll destroy your economy, and that's what's happened all over the world. It is. I guess as Adrian said, and as he's done, he's worked very, very hard to become the genius professor that he is, and had awards from every different college, and also the highest award you can get in Australia, the Order of OA, the Order of Australia. That's the highest order the Queen can give you in this country and in Australia. So, and he's worked hard to get where he is. So, I believe, and look, and I'd love to see other countries do well. And if we can help them, but help them where they are. I mean, sure, bring over the people who want to get the degree and get the knowledge, fine, and then go back and take it and improve their own country. That's what I believe, and I think Australia is very good at that. We have a huge program where people come to our universities from all over the world, and they go home with the knowledge that they gained in Australia, and that's great. That helps build their country. And it stops all the immigration or the refugee type people, I agree. Hard work is the answer, and sitting at home doing nothing and taking the welfare is definitely not the answer.
Thank you, Senator Anning, and thank you, Professor Adrian. That is the key, hard work. And I want to share this example that these are the big men. He's a senator. He's a world-class professor. All of them believe in hard work, even in this age. So how the young population, the young talented people, how you have to think. You have to think properly. There is no shortcut way. Always you have to do hard works, and this way you can improve. So thank you for joining today's sessions. Bye-bye and take care.
Thank you, Sharif. Thank you, Adrian.
Bye.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Sorry.
Bye, Professor. Bye, Professor.
Sorry.
Bye, Professor. Bye. Bye, Professor.
Okay, thank you very much, Sharif, and thank you very much, Fraser. Thank you.
Thank you, audience. Share our content as much as possible with your government, with your think tank, with your policymakers, with governments, as well as with corporations. Thank you. Bye bye, and take care. And buy this book. Bye bye.
Yes, buy the book.
Yeah,
Thank you.
sure,
Hi,
sure.
Adrian.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you. Thank you, friend.